My name is Ray Meyer. I'm going to be carving here on the International Association of Woodcarvers, and I'm going to show you how I developed and started my carving career journey. Let's go with, and I'm going to show you one of my signature items that I've done. Hope you all enjoy it.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the International Association of Woodcarvers. Today is Saturday, the 23rd of March, 2024. A little bit of a rainy Saturday here in Tennessee. I hope you're having some sunny weather where you are, but I appreciate you all coming in today and joining with us. Looks like we have a good crowd coming in, so I want to thank you for always being faithful and coming on our meetings and allowing us to share wood carving with you and hopefully give you some things to think about and some things that might motivate you. Before we get started, speaking of motivation, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to Dave Stetson. He's been offering up his words of wisdom to us. If you think about it, go out on YouTube and look at our shorts. We were just talking about that a few minutes ago. I've taken Dave's words of wisdom and broken them out of the meetings into short videos. So if you want to go back and hear some of those, they're out there on our videos. So make sure you check that out. Having said all that, Dave, let me go ahead and turn it over to you and give us what you got today, brother.
Hey, all right. So this was a quote I read and heard about and have heard it for a number of years. I didn't know who it came from. When I did a little research on it, I found out it was from Norman Vincent Peale. And then I had to do a little more research because I wasn't sure who he was. But he's done a book that I'm going to have to find now because it's a book called The Power of Positive Thinking. But he had a quote, says, "Shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll land among the stars." And as woodcarvers, we can take that another step further and say, that how it applies to what we're doing. So challenge yourself. I mean, that's come out in other quotes before, but challenge yourself and shoot for the moon.
Thank you, Dave. We appreciate that. And we look forward every week to what you have to share. So thank you for that. Want to tell you a little bit about some classes that are coming up that you can get involved in. Just to remind you again to look for these things. Even if you can't get out to clubs and shows and classes and things, you can still take classes online. Some of the best instruction out there is available online, so make sure you try to do that. You can see a lot of the past classes through Woodcarving Academy. It's a little better financially if you sign up with Woodcarving Academy. You can do it a month, 3 months, or a year. I think I talk about that quite a bit, but some of the past classes that have been recorded are out there available for you now. You got patterns and all the things you need. So you can go back and take some of those classes that you wish you would have gotten into live. So try to check that out. Coming up on workshops, there's some new ones. Janet Cordell's going to have one on April the 26th. She's going to be carving a horse jumping a fence. So if you're interested in that, reach out to Janet Cordell, get signed up. You'll be happy that you did. Dave Stetson has a class that's going on now. It's probably finishing up soon. And I think I heard tomorrow maybe. He's going to have another class starting on June the 1st, wood carving a 5-piece cowboy and friends. And all that information, again, is out there on Woodcarving Academy under workshops. But to get signed up, you have to contact Dave directly. So reach out to Dave, let him know you're interested in that. He'll tell you the fee and any information that you might need as far as rough outs or cutouts, and get you ready for that. And then in the fall, August the 3rd, Ryan Olson's already signed up for a class carving handsome hunks and heartthrobs. So if you're looking to carve people like Ryan Olson, make sure you go out and check that out. I say that because Ryan's a funny dude, and I appreciate his work so much. So if you're not familiar with Ryan Olson, check him out. He's done some presentations and stuff for us in the past. Want to remind you about the fundamentals of wood carving. Alec Lacoste, he's been on with us a few times. He has a class as well that he's developed. It's out on his website on aleclacoste.com. So make sure you go out and check that out if you're interested in doing realistic type, cottonwood bark type carvings. He's one of the best in the business. So make sure you check that out. Today on our meeting, I want to remind you all we have Ray Meyer coming to us from New York. Ray has been on with us before. He's going to do a demonstration today, and I look forward to hearing what he has to share. One other reminder, Carving the Rockies. I talk about this every week. If you haven't signed up yet, make sure you sign up to come out to Carving the Rockies in Colorado Springs, Colorado. That's on September 14th through the 15th. There will also be a wood carving or caricature carving wood carving school on the 16th through the 18th, and you can go out on the CCA website and get signed up for those classes. So if you're going to be out there and you're going to be able to stay an extra couple of days, make sure you sign up for the classes. Go to the CCA website and see what all is available, what all's happening that weekend. As time gets closer, I'll talk a little bit more about some things that are going on. I'm also sending out advertisements on Facebook and Instagram as far as happenings that are going to be happening in there at the CCA show. So watch for those. Again, it's CCA Carving the Rockies, September 14th and 15th, with classes following on the 16th through the 18th. Having said all that, again, today we have Ray Meyer on with us. Ray, I appreciate you sharing with us and taking time out to talk to us about your carving journey and to do a demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, my friend.
Thank you all for that. I appreciate it. I've been carving since 2018, and the only way I know that is I look back at some dated pictures I had on my phone, and I figured that out. And I started off with the flatback Santas that started me off about 6 inches long. This one's a little shorter. I was never really happy with my faces. I kept working at them, and my wife took a bunch of the flatbacks into her job and sold a couple of them. And one of the people working there said, "Can your husband make them 18 inches long?" My wife says, "I don't know." So she come home and she asked me if I could make them 18 inches long, and I said I didn't know. So he said, "Well, I'd like one." So we ended up making them 18 inches long. And it's not my first one, because my first 5 he bought. He decided he wanted 4 more if he saw the first one. This one I made in 2021. I had borrowed it off of my sister-in-law because the one we put away in the attic with the Christmas ornaments, we can't find. Hopefully we'll find it by Christmas. So by today, we hopefully will get you somewhere close to this. I'm going to tell you to get from that to that requires 2 hours and 38 minutes and 48 seconds. So we're not going to do that from scratch. I'm going to basically show you how I lay them out, and we'll step through to different procedures. I do have a little interesting story to tell about a 8-year-old that I carved with on Monday nights. Her name is Nora, and she's asked for a bunch of my carvings, and I always give them to her because she's cute as a button. And we came down to Christmas, and I was getting ready for the Dutchess County Fair show, and I had 20 of these made up. And she said, "Boy, I'd really like one of those." And her mother's saying, "No, you can't have any more of Mr. Meyer's carvings. You have too many of them. He's always giving you stuff. You got to stop." So I said, "Nora, you carve wood, don't you?" And she said, puffed up, all big, "Yes, I do." I said, "Well, wood carvers do a thing called an ornament swap." And I said, "You carve me an ornament, and you can pick one of my ornaments, and I'll swap with you." She said, "Okay." I said, "But you're going to have to wait till after the show because some of these are going to sell." She said, "All right." She walked over to the president of the club and said, "Mr. Dave?" He said, "Yes, Nora. I need to carve something." And she sat down and she made me that ornament right there. One of my favorite ornaments, put it on the tree every year. And when she painted it, I told her she had to have it painted and everything and signed on the bottom. And she's got Nora written across there. And I'll cherish that for as long as I live, because I just get a kick out of that. And I took an example of another one of my favorite carvers, Gene Messer, and I decided to make a Jack Price 35 millimeter canister ornament. Well, not an ornament, but just to see if I could do it. And I know Dave Stetson loves my overalls, so I decided to carve a representative of me. He's not quite done yet, but he's going to be in overalls, and I'll post him up online. You can see him. Just because I know Dave likes my overalls so much. I didn't wear them today, though. So if you want, I also want to introduce a knife maker that just started making last year. And I was in on the prototyping of his blades. It looks like this. He asked me to carve with it and tell me everything he liked and didn't like about it. And I carved 8 or 11 days with it straight. Never had to sharpen it much, just a little stropping. Told him everything I liked and didn't like, and then he produced that. And he's with Mountain Woodcarvers. I have a picture of his business card here. If you're interested in getting a knife off of him, he also sells with Mountain Woodcarvers. And I really like his blades. I'm very, very happy with them. I like them a lot better than my Drake blade. I own 3 of them, and I've broken all 3. Not very fond of Drake knives, but I do like his. So, without further ado, and if anybody has any questions, please don't be afraid to stop me and ask. The way I originally did this, and most people are not going to like it, I use math. I used the ratio of the dimension of the block I had to the dimension of the block I wanted, and worked through each one of them doing a ratio to get it. But now, since I already have them in size, and I never liked how big they were. I prefer the smaller version, and so does my wife. And usually if my wife likes something, it sells. So I just come down the block, put in my landmarks. And this is very rough on the landmarks. Nothing. I'll use a Dave Stetson technique that I've learned to move them around some to get what I like. And that's about all I'll put in. I'll put in where we're going to put the bridge of the nose. And from what? No, sorry. And that's about the extent of the drawing on the block I do. I don't like using a pencil on the blocks because I tend to get my gloves dirty. The ink seems to stay with it better. And I like these Sharpie pens. They seem to hold up pretty good. I didn't think that fine point would hold up very well, but they do. And then I'll approximate about where I'll put the ball. And that is the extent of the marking that I do. It gets suited up.
Hey, Ray, would you mind holding that up to the side camera there so we can get a good picture of those markings?
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Thank you, sir.
Like I said, I originally figured this out, but even when I make these type of things from a picture on Pinterest, my wife's favorite place to go, I'll take the measurement off of the picture and do a little ratio to figure out the size that I want, because I don't have the artistic abilities of Dave Stetson. I'm working on them, but they ain't here yet. So I have to mathematically arrive at my solutions to problems. I don't have that freestyle of figuring things out. Now I like the soft V or a number 9 gouge to rough things out. Dave Stetson, he noted that you can move things around if you don't have that sharp point of a V locking you into something. And I found it very handy. I took his Klaus course, and yeah, that's dangerous. I learned a lot about being able to rough something in, get you some landmarks, and then if you have to, adjust where they are for what the carving looks like. And the block is a little long. This is the second time we'll be making something from a block that size. And I like to see what the beard's going to look like before I go lopping the block off. I've been known to go at these with a hatchet on occasion, but I'm not doing that upstairs in the house. That's a basement activity where my woodworking shop is. But it's a little too messy for PV. Maybe when I retire, I'll get it cleaned up.
And Ray, you're doing this out of basswood. You mentioned earlier before the meeting that you had access to other woods through work. Do you carve them in other woods as well, or just basswood?
I ran into a couple of poplar blocks at work that were cut off of a project, and I tried making a Matt Catterset face out of one of them, and he kind of looks like a Matt Catterset face, but he also looks a lot like an Easter Island Maui or Moai. And I usually keep some of my carvings that I don't particularly like the way they turned out on this little shelf over my workbench, just to remind me that I need to improve. Just in case I ever forget that. And I ended up with a scrap of a walnut. We ended up getting $80,000 worth of walnut slabs for conference tables for an office down in New York City. And I got one of the cutoffs, and it's black walnut, and I think I'm going to make me what one of my customers calls chocolate gnomes out of the walnut, but I haven't cut it up and carved it yet. But they're little blocks, and I'm gonna give them a go, see what they look like. But I'm mostly stay with the basswood. I found the poplar a little annoying to carve, but I didn't do an alcohol and water trick on it either, which I could have. I worked next to a guy who grew up in Moldavia, and he's been a cabinet maker since he's been about 14 years old. And he's got an amazing ability to take a bunch of scrap wood out of the hopper, even scrap cardboard, and he turns it into some of the most amazing things I've ever seen. He sanded the surfaces of a cardboard sheet off of and took the cardboard corrugations and turned it into, looks like the cooling tower on 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant, and turned it into a lamp. Other offcuts, he's moved around a little bit and turned them into a fish sculpture he's got swimming across the living room wall. Working next to him can be a little intimidating, but he's like working with my brother. It's really, we got the same sense of humor, which is scary, and I really enjoy some. And you ask him what he's making, he'll go, I don't know yet. I think he's working on a lampshade now, making it out of paper mache. Everybody stops by his bench to find out what he's doing. And as you can tell, we're just hogging this off to get it down. I kind of like to hop around carving, but I can't seem to decide what shape something should be until I got more of the carving filled in. I find this hand motion can be a relatively powerful way to run a chisel or a gouge, and relatively safe. Although my hand's probably blocking the view. I can't do that left-handed, I'm sorry. Some things I can, but not that. We don't need to see my first aid practiced.
So tell us what you're doing there, Ray. Are you outlining the fur underneath the fur?
Yep, the fur on the hat. That'll be this part right here. Starting to put in the forehead. Need that sticking out of my hand. And I think joining the woodcarving club was one of the best things I ever did, because it's nice to talk to more experienced people about things that you're doing. And I sometimes got to ask them to be a little bit less polite than they are, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But especially when I first started out, my carvings were bad enough where I really needed my feelings hurt. And I told them they weren't going to scare me off. So, but it was nice that they didn't make me feel like, oh my God, what are we going to do with this guy? Because I originally wanted to carve when I was real young, and I had a father who was good at carving, just never filled in the details. He figured since we were genetically linked that everything he knew about removing wood from something magically came through, but it didn't. He'd hand you a block of wood and what do you want to make? I said, well, I want to make a pig. He handed me a block of wood and says, take off everything that doesn't look like a pig. And I was 12, I had a pocket knife, Buck Stockman, and I had a nice 30-degree bevel on it, and was rather aggravating to carve with, and I got frustrated and quit. And after my kids were grown, well, before they were grown, he told me if I made a one-piece wooden chain, I'd be able to carve anything. I took a Chicago cutlery paring knife and rounded down to what somebody told me was a good shaped blade for carving, which wasn't. But anyway, I did manage to make the one-piece wooden chain, but I just didn't scratch that itch that I was looking to scratch. So I ended up with having to do rehab on the living room floor in front of the TV that gets YouTube. And just per chance, wood carving videos came up on YouTube. And I said to myself, I always wanted a wood carver. Let me see what this is. I got 90 minutes to kill. And I believe it was Gene Messer making a little character. No, he was making a 5-minute wizard. That's what it was. And layout seemed simple enough, so I ordered me a carving knife and started. A friend of my wife's was down having dinner with us. And she said, you know, you ought to join the carving club. And I said, I wouldn't even know how to find a carving club. She handed me her smartphone. It says right there, Hudson Valley Woodcarvers. There you go. And that was my beginning on a real carving journey. And I never looked back. I've taken a class with Dave Stetson. Unfortunately, I never finished Klaus. I was bad, but I'll get to him sooner or later. Even lost his paintbrush and miniature toy that he's holding in his hand. But they're around here somewhere. I decided that I would add detail to every carved face that I made, and until I got, I don't want to say mastered, but good at them. And I went and I bought a book on expressions, and it's nothing but pictures of actors and actresses making different expressions so that you can learn to carve, because I could never get into Dave Stetson's technique of anatomy. The Latin put me off, so I'm just gonna carve other people's faces, not worry about the name of what the muscle's connected to, but figure out how to make smiles and winks. And as you can see, we don't always use a pen. And I don't have particular measurements. I just kind of let the carving tell me what it wants at the time. And then when I'm done, I'll let the wife tell me what it should have had. She's got this innate ability of whatever she says looks really good seems to sell. So I don't argue with her. Not that it would help. But she doesn't always share my vision of it finished. And if you can't see something or anything, please just say something and I'll find out a different way to do it. I like making these cuts with the knife simply because I like to practice knowing where my knife tip is. It's something I think every carver needs to learn how to do, so you don't get those, I don't know what they're called, but them lines that are tough to cover up when you're done. Or you think you're done.
Right down underneath that beard there, you got extra wood. Will you carve that into part of his jacket, or what is the plan for that?
I think that's going to come off. I'm not talented enough for that jacket stuff yet.
Okay.
Put it in that Jim Feather pile of scrap wood that I'm supposed to turn into some kind of beautiful item that I haven't been able to pull off yet. But I always look to that video because Jim says I can do it, so I should be able to do it. I just haven't come up with the talent for it yet.
Don't throw it away. Don't throw it away.
I don't, Jim. I don't.
Good
But
stuff.
think about you every time I look at that damn box in the basement, I'll tell you.
Oh, that's a compliment, I guess.
Well, I may get a picture of you and put you on that box. Or carve you on that box. That'll be good.
There you go.
Have to make it out of something besides cardboard, though.
Well, at least somebody listens to me every once in a while.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I listen. Don't always apply, but I listen. And as you can see, we're starting to firm up those Dave Stetson lines. Not too firm, though. Not sure I like the width of that rim yet. I think I'm going to have to bring a shop vacuum upstairs after this demonstration. I'm going to put in a couple of facial lines here. My second favorite pen to use. And of course, I violated the main rule of a right-handed carver and drew the right hand first. You're supposed to draw the left hand first. I know the rule, never apply the rule. So I'll just draw the left hand side upside down. And I'm going to change the way it looks with a knife anyway if I don't like the way it turned out. Oh boy, is that crooked. Wow. Told you I couldn't draw. Now, somewhere in here. I kind of lay that soft V over a little bit to take more off the face and leave the beard high. I had an interesting, my wife found this really cute gnome that I carved, and she really liked them. She decided she wanted one for Valentine's Day, so he had to be holding a heart. Well, there were 8 or 9 attempts at getting the hat, nose, mustache, heart, and beard all layered in the correct direction. 8 of which we're probably never going to see. But we finally got him wound down, and I work with an art major at my job, and he's nice enough to critique how poorly I put some artistic things together and what I need to improve. And he's been a vast help with teaching me to think in layers and what needs to happen, because I personally find I know it's wrong. I just don't know what's wrong with it. And he can usually get to the bottom of my blockage of what I've done wrong. That's the nervous wiggle. When you're starting to wiggle it like that, when you're about ready to get yourself hurt. You need to check your emotions and find out a better way to get that piece of stuff out of there. The thing I have found working with these type of tools as I take his eyebrow off is when one side is cutting with the grain, the other side is sometimes cutting against it. So you have to kind of pay attention. This is going to get a lot smaller. To your grain direction, or you'll tear your wood. And if we get to it, and I hope we do, where I'm putting the trim on the hat, you'll see that with the V gouge. Now, Another thing I like to pay attention to is have his beard end somewhere near his hat. Otherwise, it's gonna look a little funny with a hat sitting on top of, look like you got a little pinhead sitting on some fat-headed dude like me. Look, need to bring that down some.
Hey Ray, how about how many of these do you do each year? You do a bunch?
Right now I'm around, and I wouldn't say in a year, but I've made since 2018 between 26 and 34 of them. And honestly, I don't know why you need something that size hanging in your house. I can't understand the appeal, but if you like them, I'll make them. I want a lady who knows the president of our carving club bought one, and he tells me that every Sunday she rants and raves about a wonderful wood carver I am, and I really don't think I'm that talented. I'm more patience and perseverance, I think, than talent. I mean, but I have a tendency of focusing more on what I thought I did wrong on the last carving than how it actually looks. I look at a guy like John Overby, makes some really clean carvings. Gene Messer's clean carving. Dave's carvings always look sharp. His artwork is nice too. I see how far I have to go. I don't, but I guess if you don't know what someone's doing, they don't see what you see, is what I'm saying. And I didn't think my carving had come that far until I put one of my old. I got a notification that some picture anniversary or something came up on the phone, and one of my old carvings and one of my new carvings showed up next to one another, and I was like, okay, I do see where I've come a ways in my carving journey, but I still feel like I have a lot more to go. I I don't usually make these as I don't make one of these until someone's ordered them, but I'm have someone in mind for a Christmas gift, which is what started that one. And everyone I talked to about doing this demonstration said that if I do anything besides this, I'd be lowering the standard from the spiral Santa that I did on my last show. So I figured I'd better see what I can do to up my game. And by the way, my game ain't getting much higher than this. You're just going to have to be disappointed if I ever do another show. But I am looking forward to taking more classes. I just got to make the time for it. I'm just about done doing surgeries and all that fun stuff. I've had about every broken part on me rebuilt now, so plan on breaking anything else. It's enough for roughing up. Let's get to magic.
Show us where you are there. before you get started there, Ray?
I put my detail in my hat, which is nothing more than a curve cut, and then I cut a little triangle in to do that. You can see where I left some of my old layout lines because I made the brim a little too thin. Got a bit of a space between his eyebrows roughed in. His eye sockets are pretty deep, but no eyeballs yet. These are those little lines I was telling you about. You should keep cleaned up. You should always pick your knife up with the blade pointed in the right direction. Good thing you check it before you lay your thumb up against that nice carving edge. And yeah, I know you're not supposed to pick at the point of your knife, but I do it every now and then. I've recently added temples. I was not too good at putting them in. But that's round over his cheeks a little bit. Start popping in our eyes. Try to find all that width of the nose to the width of the eye routine. Of course, thinking about it, when you're deciding on the width of your face, is a big help. A little low. And you notice I did that backwards again. Just gonna dig us out a little hole here. Corner cut. Like I said, if anybody can't see or wants me to go over something, I'll be more than happy to stop. Yeah. Right there. So which black mark I wanted to pay attention to. Always afraid of taking off too much wood when I'm roughing out a little bit. One day I'll be able to cut with confidence. Not today, though.
So there's a question from the chat, Ray. How much do you typically sell your fans for based on size?
These larger ones here, there's no difference in the price of an 18-inch one of these small ones because the amount of detail that has to be put into the face. And I'll probably get between $150 and $200 for them. My little 6-inch ones sell for $20 to $40, depending. And so the spiral Santa goes for about the same. I don't look so much to make a profit. I look to pay for my knives and my wood. Prices may go up a little once I start carving my way through that expressions book and I can actually hit a wink or a grin or a smile, but I'm definitely going to take some more courses that will hopefully lead me in that direction. I mean, when I first started, I never thought I'd get a face that would look like a face. And it still kind of amazes me. One of my club members teases me actually about anytime I carve something new, she'll go, well, Ray, I'll make about 1,000 of them. And I don't think I've made that many, but I have made quite a few. My small 6-inch ones during the pandemic, I think I made 60 or 70 of them nonstop in the basement. And when I sent pictures to my club president about what I'd been doing, that's when I started the Spiral Santa. And that came out of Woodcarving Illustrated, I believe. All I got was a text message picture of a magazine page. So I'm not even sure of the month or the year or anything, but I'm fairly sure it was a Woodcarving Illustrated project. I work with a guy that was actually an apprentice-trained woodcarver in Romania, and he's always been very complimentary of my work. He's going to retire, so he said he's going to give me that, so I'll always remember him. So every time I pick it up, I think of my friend Colleen from work. And I gave him a Spiral Santa so that every time he did his Christmas tree, he'd be able to think of me. He's been very helpful, and he does mostly chisel carving. He does carving, not whittling. And he says I'm a better carver than he is because I can get a knife to do things he can't get it to do. But he's lying. I know he could. Put in a little nose detail. Up the side of the nose into that eye socket. Wife was nice enough to get me a bunch of file palm gouges I wanted. Help me out with some of the detailing around these eyes.
Hey, Ray, we've got somebody asking, what's the expression book that you were referring to? Do you know what the name of it is?
Uh-huh. Hopefully I'm going to be able to walk over to where I have it and lay my hands on it. I did not think to get it out before the meeting. I'm sorry.
While Ray's getting that, I'll remind you all, we're going to be off next Saturday for Easter, so we won't have a meeting next Saturday, but we'll come back in on April the 6th and have Rod Gatlin in. Rod's going to be doing a demonstration and talking to us about the Charlotte Woodcarving Show That show's coming up on April the 26th through the 28th. So if you're in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, make sure you try to sign up and come down and attend that show. Again, that's April 26th through 28th. And Rod Gatlin in live Saturday the 6th of April. So the first Saturday in April.
Blake, I'm sorry. I will lay my hands on that. We can put it as a link on the video. They can catch it on YouTube.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Probably out in the car. I don't really have myself set up in a carving area. I'm kind of spread out throughout the house. And I do tend to get things lost. Sorry, just concentrating.
I know you're not quite there yet, but we do have another question in the chat. Somebody's wanting to know what your preference of paint brands are. So, is there specific paints that you use to paint your sandals with?
I use the typical art store acrylics, and I'm going to own up to the fact that my wife does most of the painting. I will do the eyes. She doesn't like doing eyes, but usually when you're looking at my paint work, it's her artistic abilities, not mine, but it's Americanos, Craft Smart, all of those. And I don't even know the name of them all, but we don't buy by brand. She goes through and finds colors she likes, and that's about all we do. And I don't water them down. It's something I've been wanting to try. We haven't gave it a go yet. Unfortunately, the painting usually gets put off till just before some event needs to happen, so there's no time for experimentation. I'm hoping to get a little bit more into the experimenting part. Now, I'm going to show you. I stole this idea with their permission off of someone on Facebook. She lives in Texas. Her name is Christine Miralles. And it's basically how I do the detail on the hat. And this, you'll find, is where you have to pay attention to what one side of your V-gouge is doing versus the other. Because you're cutting diagonally across the grain. And you get pretty good at switching your hand positions to put in your diamond pattern on the trim. And sometimes it'll stay nice and parallel. Other times it won't. It does not seem to affect how the look finishes up. I used to be pretty anal about keeping them dead even. Made this a very time-consuming process. What I do try to avoid is an overstrike once I come out of the hat trim. I don't want to hit the forehead or the hat. But if I do, clean it up with a knife a little bit later on.
Show us a close-up there, Ray, and tell us what tool you're using.
I can't tell you the brand name of the tool because this was in a gift set my father gave me after he attempted to show me how to do some mallet carving. This was a Christmas present, so I don't know the brand name. It's just a V tool. Going to say it's about 5/16 of an inch wide, and I do not know the sweep. It's just something I've had since my original dreams of carving. Can you see that all right, or do we need to get closer?
No, you're good.
Because I'm not looking at the screen.
We had another question. Somebody wants to know how much commission your wife gets for painting the carvings when you sell them.
About as much commission as I help doing the math on the quilting that she does.
There you go. So you trade out services, right?
Yeah, it's pro bono.
Ray, that expression book you were looking for, is that a Gary Fagan book?
It quite possibly could be. I'm thinking that I got it off of a website from your carving class, but I'm not positive. It's got kind of a purplish color on the face of it.
Yeah, Dane's holding it up there. I just spotlighted it.
I'm not sure. Mine's a little different than that, I think. I'm not positive. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I'll definitely put it up. I think I brought it in to show it to the guys at my club, and I never took it out of the car. Nobody seems to be as into carving faces as I am at the club. One member says you ain't even supposed to put ears on a character. They ain't supposed to have them. I don't agree with that philosophy, but he's one of the guys taught me how to carve. I can't argue with him too much.
What you say, Ray?
Not you, Bill. I was talking about Joe. You ought to come on and show how you carve birdhouses, Bill. And mailboxes.
We're always signing people up. He's welcome to reach out if he'd like to. So somebody's asking what size the wood was that you started with. I thought you said 18 inches. Was that what you started with first?
I originally started off with a 1.5 inch by 6 inch. I turned that into a 3.5 square that I flat backed on a bandsaw by 18 inch. And this one is about 12 inches, and I think it was at 2.5 inches. I'm not absolutely positive, and I'm not taking the time to do the math now.
How about Face Expressions by Mark Simmons?
Can you lay your hands on your book like I can?
I got it right here showing you on the internet or on.
All right, I can't spotlight you.
Okay, maybe one of the guys could put it up for you better.
I got you right here.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the one. I believe that is the one.
That's the one Floyd recommends.
Maybe I did get it from Floyd on Woodcarving Academy because I'm a member there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry to interject, guys. Is that an American book, or did you get that off Amazon?
I believe I got mine off Amazon, but I'm not absolutely positive. My wife's very good on a computer. So I kind of said, honey, and it's okay. That's that trader services thing again.
Thank you.
Sound like talking to some of my grandfather's brothers. Now that's going one way. Now we're going to come around and go the other. And those points do snap off. But after you've been riding around behind 8 tiny reindeer all night, there's no telling what your hat's going to look like.
Ray, another question. They're wanting to know the location and name of the club that you attend.
My club actually has 3 locations. I go to the Pleasant Valley version. There's one in Armenia, which Bill, who was talking there before, started, and we also are in Red Hook, New York. But it's called Hudson Valley Woodcarvers. I think I take top honors for going the furthest to a meeting. It's 42 miles one way for me. But we do have some people that come in from Connecticut,
and Dean's put in the chat that the book's for sale on Amazon for $18.73 US. So you can definitely find it on Amazon.
that'll help with our international brethren.
That's right.
I don't know if you can call ladies brethren, though. Sisters, we'd have to call them in carving? I don't know. No offense intended. One of these days, I'm going to put me a Blake Lunsford beard on one of these things. I'm going to have to watch a couple of his classes first, though. And you notice I'm kind of getting wild with how the pattern's going, but it doesn't really affect it. Of course, we are busting the pajamas out of some of these. I will come back and tune them up with a knife also. But it's just a matter of spinning it around till you find out which way the wood's going to let you cut.
Hey, Ray, back to the painting question. Do you do any kind of pre-treatment on the carving after you get finished carving it and before you paint it, or do you just paint it solid?
I did some pre-treatment on some gnomes that I made for my wife with linseed oil and some linseed oil that was tinted with burnt sienna. And my wife did not like how they're aging. They're sitting on the kitchen and watch us do dishes every night. I'll usually hit them with some shellac because some of my carvings go to kids and it's fairly non-toxic. I don't know what others are. Just in case you're wondering, M&Ms are coated with shellac, makes them nice and shiny. President of the club was not happy to hear that. But and that's the extent of my post treatment. One of these days I'm going to get caught up, and I think my wife and I are going to sit down and play around with different finish styles. I want to watch some videos on it because I would like to grow in my finishing aspect of carving. It's not one of my strengths, but mine are basically painted, let them dry, spray them up with shellac, sign the bottom. Well, I'll sign the bottom usually before I shellac them because burning shellac is not a pleasant smell. And I would try to wood burn my name on the bottom of my carvings. Although my penmanship is terrible, I got to come up with something different on that. I'm using a 0.1 millimeter ball. I might have to go bigger. I don't know, but I'm still learning that aspect of my trade also.
Okay. So do you always do the crisscross on the fur, Ray, or do you have different styles that you like to do?
My wife likes the crisscross, hence I love the crisscross. There's just no other way to finish a hat. Would never think of disagreeing with the creative design department of this operation. I think it looks good. I loved it when I saw it on my friend Christie's carvings on the Facebook, and I asked her permission to promptly steal it, and she said, "Go ahead." And I did. My wife paints it up in gold, and it looks really, really nice. Not your traditional Santa hat, but takes some of the rough spots off of his nose.
After you get finished there, somebody's asking for a close up of that pattern now that you've carved it. If you can hold it closer to the screen there. There you go. Yeah, it looks great.
Kind of like the check ring on a rifle, but you put that in with a specific set of files. But I carve it in, and you can see even the broken spots don't look all that terrible.
So I'd say
That
you'll
looks
probably
really
see
good.
that on some other carvings.
Sounded like there was two questions there. What was the other one? Okay, don't have to share. Well, I try to channel my John Overby spirit here, getting all of this crud out of the nooks and crannies. Try to do it as I go, but I jump around a bit too much for that. Try giving us an upper eyelid here. And we'll get us a lower one. This is a number 12, and I believe it's 1 millimeter. File V tool. I thought I used to really like my dockyards for small tools, but I think file is a little step up from them. Still fond of my dockyards, but this is one cutting little fellow, boy. Want to see a close up of that eye. See if we can do the same over here.
Ray, we're coming up on about 10 after 4.
Okay.
If you want to demonstrate some of the hair and stuff there, we got a little bit of time left.
All right. Thank you for keeping an eye on the time. I try to make the hair look like it's sweeping. Usually start up here, and I'll go down off the edge like that. Then finish it off, take the knife as I go around, and I'll accent those where I've slid off the edge of the carving to give the hair a less uniform appearance. I don't usually do that after the second strand of hair, but we run out of time. You'll know all my secrets. I usually like making the hair kind of big, although I have had some blocks of wood that weren't exactly big friendly. Try to stay ahead of this because it gets tedious if you got a whole beard to do. Work on giving them a bit of a point. My wife's favorite color for painting the red on Santa is engine red gloss. It is absolutely her favorite color for Santa. When I've made a few cardinal for people. I take the Santa red and I mix it 2 parts red to 1 part orange, and that's what I paint my cardinals with. Because foolish me, I bought a whole bunch of Santa red, thinking that making a whole lot of Santas would paint them that color. Nope, should have got this engine red gloss. And the gloss.
Another question from, sorry,
okay.
Ray.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Another question from the chat. Somebody's wanting to know what brand of knife you use for the details on the eyes. Was that one of those Silver and Works as well?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
So you can find him on Facebook and Instagram, Ken Silvern. It's SILVERN. If anybody's interested in that, it's silvernworks.com. Go out and check that out. That's an up and coming knife maker that Ray's using as tools today.
And knife comes ready to go. There's no need to. In fact, I haven't tuned it up since I got it. I very, very happy with it. He actually let me help him develop his knife line, which I was rather impressed with. He'd given me a prototype to test and critique. And he fixed everything that I thought needed fixing. The blade never needed fixing. The blade was excellent. It's just, I carved 8 to 11 days with that knife straight to let him know what I liked and didn't like about it. And he seemed a bit surprised when I called him up and we spent an hour and a half on the phone discussing it. But he made himself a very, very nice carving knife. Back of the blade is radius, so you can rub your hand all over it, not raise a blister. One of my favorite parts of this knife. In fact, I may start radius in the back of all of my blades. Of course, you have to get that one stubborn one that just won't point out. But you're also cutting end grain here, so that makes for a bit of a challenge.
Ray, what stropping compound do you use for your blades?
I switch between Flex Cut Gold and I have a green that I bought off online. I don't have a real name for it, or I kind of ordered them both at the same time because I was new to stropping and I wanted to get my stuff and I wanted one quick, and but I like both. I get a real good edge off of both. The Flex Cut Gold came with a couple of strops I bought, and I think I bought the green to put down in my basement for my regular carpentry chisels that I also strop now. But I do like both. I don't have a particular favorite. I was carving with the Maybes, Arlene, and Roger. I believe Roger is his name. I went to a face carving class. They gave it our club. And I was surprised to find out that Arlene doesn't really like sharpening her gouges. She was borrowing other people's gouges. And I showed her a couple of tricks I have for sharpening. And I don't know if she implied them or not. I haven't talked to her since. But, you know, I'm not one of these people that only sharpens with one method of sharpening. I found that the hardest thing to do is to get a consistency. So I take a black magic marker and I paint the whole side of the whatever I'm going to sharpen, and I'll take one pass and take a look at where it rubbed and didn't rub, blacken it up again, and change and I try to remember how that feels every time I do it. And in the beginning, when you start that, you'll develop a feel for how that should be when it's laid on whatever you're using, whether it's sandpaper, stone. In desperation, there have been times I've been out on the job that I stuck adhesive back sandpaper to a piece of MDF because I chipped the chisel when I'm trying to hang a door. And then I smoothed it up by putting metal polish I'd had in my car on the MDF to polish the bevel. Because there's been a lot of craftsmen that made a lot of really nice stuff that didn't have all of the modern stuff that we absolutely need to put a sharp edge on. And I never use power sharpening because I just find that a faster way to make a mistake. Occasionally I'll have to grind a chisel that I've really mangled, but it's always finished off by hand. It's the way I learned as a kid. And it's just stuck with me. A little bit of his mustache in.
And Ray, we're coming up on 20 after. I'll go ahead and open up the floor, see if there's anybody else that has any other questions about Ray's presentation today.
Open to any questions you got. Hope I didn't put anybody to sleep.
Well, Ray, I appreciate your willingness to come on and share again. It's definitely been a great presentation, and I think all of us stand to gain a little something from your technique and your approach. So I want to thank you for that. Want to remind you all again that we will not be having a meeting next Saturday. We'll be off for Easter. We'll come back again on April the 6th. I'll put it out on social media so everybody will see that. We'll have Rod Gatlin in, who's going to be talking to us about the Charlotte Showcase of Wood Carvings that's coming up April the 26th through the 8th. I know I'll be down there. I think Dwayne Gosnell will be there. I think Dave Levy might be coming down. Jim Heiser. There's going to be a bunch of good carvers down there. So if you get a chance to come down, make sure you do that. Do want to remind you all while I'm thinking about it, don't forget Holly and Rick Smithson and Skylar. Holly's getting ready to start her cancer treatment. If you get a chance, send them a card, a note, just a little word of encouragement or a prayer. A little encouragement goes a long way when you're battling that stuff. So just remember Holly, keep her in your prayers. Also want to remind you, Matt Atlin's wife, who makes deep holler knives, she's going through the same kind of battle. So remember Matt and his wife, and again, Deep Holler Knives. If you know how to get in touch with them, reach out to Matt. Let them know that you're thinking about them. Offer up some nice words to them. Just want to thank you all for coming in today. Again, this has been the International Association of Woodcarvers. Appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday. We try to encourage woodcarvers and share as much as we can. Check out our videos out on YouTube. And again, we'll be off next Saturday. Make sure you come back on April the 6th. And we'll be happy to see you then. Thank you all for joining us today.
Either way. I'm going to start recording here in a second. We'll do as many times as you need to.
All right. Okay.
You'll let Blake interrupt if he wants to. No.
I'm good at that.
So it's whenever
Ray
you're
Meyer. I'm here.
I'm sorry, Ray. Go. Yeah, let's go ahead whenever you're ready.
All right.
That's all you got to do.
That's good. If that's how you want to keep it, we'll keep it. If not, we'll do another one. It's up to you.
That sounds good.
All right. That works then, man. I'll hit the
I'm much better carpenter and carver than I am a video speaker. Let me get this extension cord out of it. Oh, wait.
Yeah, this video stuff's not